All right. My guest today is Evan from Vanator.com. I found him on TikTok. He's doing some cool stuff when it comes to business and teaching and educating, but he's also using social media really well. So I wanted to have him come on the podcast and hang out with us for a little bit and kind of pick his brain about what he's doing. So, Evan, first of all, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
I appreciate you having me, Bruce. That's cool. I like being here.
I love talking to people who are doing some cool stuff, and you have obviously a large following on TikTok. You're doing a great job on YouTube as well, on all the platforms, Instagram, all of it. But before we get into that, kind of give us your background into entrepreneurship. Where did it all begin for you?
Okay. It started a long time ago, but I just wanted to give you guys some context. Like, I started this social media thing about a year ago.
1 year ago.
1 year ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've only been doing this for about a year. And I just wanted to mention that because I know there's people out there who are like, oh my God, dude, I gotta build my following. I gotta do this. It's so hard. It's gonna take forever. Dude, look what I did in a year. I mean, just talking about some stuff I thought was cool.
Give some context.
So
How many followers do you have on TikTok?
TikTok is, well, probably about around 550,000, I think.
Which is amazing. And on
It's
Instagram, you
great.
have like 50,000 or something like that?
No, I'm probably around closer to 35, somewhere
Okay.
around there.
That's still a
Yeah,
significant amount for
YouTube's
just starting.
growing. I got
Yeah.
20,000
YouTube's growing.
subscribers on YouTube, and
Yeah.
yeah, this is all part of the master plan for me. But let me answer your question directly. I've been building businesses ever since I was like a kid, mowing lawns, burning CDs, making pizzas, things like that.
Nice.
But it got to a point in my 20s where I'm like, man, dude, I need to give the rat race a chance. My dad's like, get a stable job, get some benefits, get a pension. What the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm like, all right, fine. So, well, pointing's backwards. So I joined the fire department. And I did that for about 8 to 10 years. EMT on an ambulance, stuff like that. Became a paramedic.
That's
Was
cool.
working my ass off in the fire department. But the thing is when you get hired in the fire department, you have you go through this academy, and I'm sure you've heard about stuff like
Yeah.
that before. But it's like 18-week. It's an ass kicker. Physically one of the hardest things I've ever done. And at the end of it, we wanted to commemorate that experience. And so I had a wood shop at the time where one of my entrepreneurial ventures was making, furniture, wood items, cutting boards. And so I'm like, all right, I'll make this plaque. Let's do this. And so I cut out this big, beautiful walnut 8, and I engraved our names into some glass. And I really wanted to wood burn our motto into it. It was together in, together out. And so I grabbed a soldering iron and I plugged it in, and I fucked up the whole project, dude. I wrecked it. I was like, I'm artistic. I can figure this out. I got it. And it just didn't work out well for me. The soldering iron got stuck on the grain, and it was burning unevenly, and it looked like shit. So after I started over, I'm like, man, I got to find a better way. There's got to be a way to wood burn with stencils, man. There's got to be a way. And my wife and I started doing some research, YouTube, online, and things like that. Long story short, we came up with a way to do it chemically. And so we created a product called Scorch Marker. And it's a chemical solution. You apply it to wood, you apply heat, and then it burns the wood only where you drew.
Huh.
So you can do, well, hold on, let it focus. Shit like this with stencils using our product, Scorch Marker.
Well, that's crazy.
Yeah. And so we took this idea and once again, coming back to the entrepreneurial tendencies, I was like, hey, wife, what if we put this in a pen? Like, do you think people would buy it? Can I spend $500 on this? Can we try it out? So I started buying empty markers, and I found suppliers in China. One thing led to another, and we just kept reinvesting the profits. And, a couple, 3-4 years later, now we're in major retailers, and we have a presence all over. And, it's allowed me to test all the things I've learned about entrepreneurship and business building. And it's helped us turn a product into a company. And now I'm rinsing and repeating and doing that with other products like this vape case product we just came out with. It's just a silicone case for cannabis vapes, for cryptocurrency projects, all kinds of other stuff. And so while I was at the fire department last year, I was on an assignment where I was refilling helicopters for this wildland fire we were on.
Yeah.
And I started snapping some videos. I was like, I'm going to put these on TikTok. I wonder if anybody wants to see them. And they got attention. And I was like, oh, this is powerful. I've never used social media before. Like, it just wasn't my thing.
How long at that point were you in business, you selling the Scorch Marker and other products?
Probably about 2 years.
So you were doing both for 2 years.
Yeah, so I was no, this Scorch Marker was about 3 years at that point. And we had an Instagram and a Facebook, but
Yeah.
that was it. Like I
Right,
built
right,
the
right.
Instagram, Facebook for the business, but I'd never put any content out. I've
Just
never done it.
traditional thinking when you think of products on Instagram and Facebook, just kinda taking pictures and stuff like that.
Yep. Use cases, pictures,
Wow,
how
that's
to's.
amazing.
And so I was like, holy shit, people care about this stuff? Like, what if I actually started about talking about things that I cared about? And that's when I started talking about business, things that I've learned on my journey, the hard lessons that I've learned, the expensive lessons, and people started to care. And so I kept doing it. And I quit my job last December at the fire department to run our businesses full time and started an education company so that I could help teach people what I've learned. And it's been great, dude. It's been great. And we just keep growing. We just keep growing and building on the things that matter to us and the things that are working. And I love it. I love it.
Was your wife supportive when you quit the job at the fire department?
She's the most supportive person I know,
Yeah.
which is crazy, dude.
It's key
But
though.
yeah, that's a hard decision though. Like I spent thousands of dollars and spent 5 years trying to get hired at this fire department, and I had a pension, I had benefits, I had a good salary, and to quit that and leave it behind, we had to figure out how to replace it. And so that means we had to figure out how to replace my cash flow. We had to figure out our own pension, our own retirement system, and we had to get our own health insurance. So once I figured those things out, I left.
Wow. Where are you?
Yeah.
Where do you live? You don't have
I
to tell
live
me
in
like
Northern
where you live,
California
but
right
like
now,
Northern
up in the
California, right?
redwood forest. Yeah.
So it's not like easy. It's not, California is not cheap to live in.
No, no, it's not. And I was living down in Southern California at the time. And so after I quit my job, I'm like, dude, we can run our businesses from anywhere. So
Yeah.
where do we want to live? And that's when we bailed.
Yeah. See, I need to do that. I live in Boston, and
Mm.
Boston's a nice city, and it's really nice in the spring and summer, but in the winter it's brutal here.
Yeah.
you know, it's not a nice place to live in January,
Have
February,
you
and half of March.
have you been there your whole life?
Yeah, I grew up here. My wife grew up here. My
Okay.
kids are grad. I have three daughters, and the two oldest ones
Mhm.
graduated high school recently. So I'm getting to the
Okay.
point now where it's not. I don't need to be here for my work, which I always did, but the last 5 years I don't, and they don't need to be here because their school is over. So we're almost to the point where we can go anywhere, and I'm definitely looking to go somewhere a lot warmer in the winter for sure. I can't wait
Dude,
for that to happen.
climate's a big deal, man. Like
Yeah.
that was one of the things on our list too.
It makes you so much happier being warm and like being able to go outside and see the sun and enjoy it.
I agree with that for sure. For
So
sure.
you started on was which platform did you start on first?
So I started making TikTok videos. I started just making TikTok videos about business stuff that I was learning, about Facebook pixels or LLCs or, how to pay yourself or the proper way to file your taxes. And if you scroll all the way back on my TikTok, you'll see the first chunk of content was all about firefighting
I'm gonna
because
pull
that's
up your
just what I was
TikTok here
doing in a while.
as you talk.
Yeah. And then I started making some videos about and then using my notebook to explain stuff, with my my bullet pen.
I love that.
And dude, it started to get really popular and people started to care. And so I'm like, wow, I got a lot of attention. I need to figure out how to monetize this and how to cross pollinate. And I'm a huge Gary Vee fan. And so I was reading his books and I learned pretty much everything I needed to know from Gary Vee.
Have
Started
you ever met
applying it.
Gary?
Nope. One day I will though.
Yeah. So this is your TikTok. I just pulled it up on the screen here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Hmm.
you can see all your TikTok videos. And let me ask you this, because a lot of people who do social media and I see your TikToks and your YouTube. A lot of people who are business owners or local business owners are like, I don't want to put myself on camera. Did you have any reservations about putting your face on camera and talking to the camera when you first started?
Oh my God, yes, dude. So many. I was so nervous. I had I had crooked teeth, and so I was self-conscious about my teeth. So I got some braces. That's one of the first things I did to help. I'm like, dude, it'll
Not
help.
right.
It'll help. I got to
Yeah,
straighten
yeah.
these fuckers out if I'm gonna do this and get the cost. So I started with the little things, right? But there's always that sense of like, what's my dad gonna say? What about my coworkers? These type A firefighters I'm working with. What about my brothers? Is my wife gonna give me shit about it? Like me being vulnerable, putting myself out there, just being me. I was super worried about it.
How'd you get over that?
Time. Time was one thing, and I have developed an ability to stop giving a fuck.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, it takes time, but
Yeah, it
it is
does.
100% worth it. And honestly, like nobody said anything. Nobody fucking cared. Everybody's too
Yeah,
busy thinking about themselves.
it is true. People who think about that, they always think about what could happen or what could somebody say way more, way more than it actually happens in real life.
100% agree, dude. And yeah, yeah. I've had that conversation with a couple of people too. Like, oh man, I can't do it, dude. I can't put myself out there. I can't. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You don't have to put yourself out there if you don't want to. How about your voice?
Yeah.
How about your hands? But just know that everything that you don't put out there, you're leaving some on the table. It's always easier if you can get in front of the camera. It's always easier to connect with people if you can put yourself out there.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't think it ever, I don't know, maybe I'm different, but for me, that nervousness or that hesitation to put yourself out there never really goes away. No matter how many videos you do, there's always a little bit of it. They're like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do this video, or I don't know if I want to post this. And you just got to be like, you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to do it anyway. Even though you do have trepidation and you're nervous about it, you just got to hit publish.
Yep. And it's oftentimes those weird ones where your true self and your authenticity shows through that connect with people the most.
How often are you on TikTok? Like, how often do you do a video on TikTok? Is it a schedule you have, or what's your routine?
So how often I'm on TikTok is vastly different from how often I post on social
Yeah,
media.
it sucks you in, right? You're on there for like you think you're gonna open the app and look at two
Yeah.
things. You're in there for an hour.
It does, and so I've had to really pace myself with that kind of stuff. There's a fine line between learning the platform and, just being consumed by it, and so one of the first people that I hired onto my team was, social media managers to handle that for me. It was just becoming too intensive to edit and post and do all those things, and so I'm a huge fan of systems. I
Yeah, I
love
agree.
systems, dude, and so I sit down with my social media manager in front of the camera, and I'll record 100 videos in one sitting. Just short form, punchy, blah, 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 just keep going and keep going, and then I'll pass those files onto my editor. My editor will edit them all up, get them chopped down, the right aspect ratios, put them in a folder. My social media manager will grab them out of that folder and then distribute on a daily basis.
Now, how did you find your team?
So some of the people that I found through just regular doing business, just being a business person,
Yeah,
meeting people, I was able to bang on my network a little bit. Some I found through my business coach, friends and relatives of my business coach, others referrals from other people. But my team is comprised of a handful of editors, graphic designers, social media managers, bookkeepers, accountants, attorneys, and just like that core group that you need
yeah.
to rely on for one-off projects.
How many? So you have a social media person that kind of edits all your videos?
I have a social media person that does all my posting and my stories and helps me just facilitate it so
Yeah,
I don't have to be in the weeds all the time.
yeah. Because if you do it, you can do it by yourself, but it does
Yep,
it does take up a lot of time between thinking about what you're going to post, executing on what you've thought about, and then posting what you executed on. Like all of that
yep.
takes a lot longer than you. Sometimes you think it's going to take you 10, 15 minutes, and it can, but sometimes it could take you 2 hours.
I agree. And in the beginning, you have to do it yourself because
Yeah.
if you don't know what the job entails, how do you hire the right person to replace you? And so in the beginning, I was doing it a lot, but man, I told my coach, I was like, dude, I gotta stop doing the social media thing. Like I would pay thousands of dollars a month to not have to do this right now. It's too time intensive. So we figured out a solution.
Yeah. How long did it take you to get to that point?
3 months.
So you did it for yourself for 3 months.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
someone's
And
gonna
that's
figure is it that you got tired of doing it or you needed to learn how to do it in order to hand it off to somebody?
both.
Yeah.
Both. Yeah, after about 90 days, a couple things happened. I found my voice and I finally clicked with me on how I would present myself online. You can see probably a couple videos where it happened. You're like, "Oh, okay, he figured it out." Um,
I'll have to go back and look at those.
yeah, I found my voice. I learned the platforms well enough and I understood what I wanted and then I was able to farm it out. So it takes
Yeah.
about 90 days for that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna go back and look at those because I always tell people, not that I don't want to look at those, but I always tell people who find the podcast for the first time. So we've done we have a couple different podcasts and the Smart Pizza Marketing podcast, which is the one I started first. I think we're up to 370 episodes that we've
Dude, that's
published.
that's awesome.
And I always tell people who find us now, great. So happy you found the podcast. Don't go back and listen to the first 50. They were terrible.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, dude, if you're not embarrassed about your like previous content, you're not improving. And so that's
Yeah.
a good sign.
Yeah.
Like,
You waited way
oh,
too long to get started if you're perfect in the beginning.
yep, 100%, dude. Oh
You get
God,
better.
that's
Like you
so
get
true,
better at
Bruce.
talking to a microphone. You get better at like
Hmm.
the cadence of how you talk to somebody on the other line. Like you said, you get more comfortable in what you're talking about and you get to know what you want to talk about. I think knowing what you want to talk about is important, just as important as how you talk about it.
I agree. That's my whole YouTube strategy right there. My YouTube, my original YouTube videos were dog shit, and they're yeah. I'll digress.
What made them bad? Like what made them bad?
So there's a couple things. I was uncomfortable being in front of the camera, and you can tell. I repeated myself too much. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
The intro was too long, and I didn't grab the viewer's attention right away.
Yep. That's
I
important.
could have been more concise and could have shortened everything down. Better naming. I could use better thumbnails. I could deliver on the promise that the content, shows. If we're going to talk about the full explanation of Bitcoin, I better fully explain Bitcoin and not go off on any tangents.
Right.
And so now I'm looking at the metrics, reading books, and watching YouTube videos on how to get better at this one thing because, dude, YouTube is a big fucking deal, dude. If you can get monetized and create content and you can stick it out for 2 to 3 years and really start
Yeah.
making a living on YouTube, it is very powerful.
How do you get motivated to produce all your videos? Sometimes I find myself lacking motivation and I'm like, ah, I'm just getting, you know what it is? As an entrepreneur, it's hard it's hard because there's nobody, everybody wants to work for themselves. Everybody wants to quit the 9 to 5 and work for themselves. But then you realize that the 9 to 5 is literally turns from 9 to 5 to 24 hours a day. Not that you work 24 hours a
Yeah.
day, but you, the great thing about being an entrepreneur, and I know you can probably relate to this, is like you can work from anywhere, but the downside of that is you work from everywhere. So how do you get motivated to like stay focused and be like, all right, this is the content I'm going to put out this week?
That's a good question. Yeah, we're the only types of people that will stop working 40 hours a week. So, or we'll work 80 hours a week so we don't have to work 40.
Exactly. Like I'm
Yeah,
always
yeah,
working. Like there's never a point where my phone doesn't ring or I
yeah.
get a text message or a DM or something. And it's hard to turn it off because I do like what I do. So it's not like it doesn't feel like work, but then you realize like, damn, I work all the time.
Yep. My wife and I talk about this all the time, achieving work-life balance. And so how do I get motivated? That one is the easy one for me. How do I find balance is the more difficult. So
Let's
how
start
do I
with
stay
motivation. How do you get motivated? Like let's start with that one since it's the easy one for you.
talking about the things that I absolutely love and I would be doing anyway? I love talking about business. I love talking about cryptocurrency. I love talking about unique ways to set yourself up financially so that you can become financially immortal.
Yeah.
I fucking love that shit. And I will talk about it all day long. I'll talk about it on the phone with my friends. I'll talk about it at dinner. I don't care.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's natural for me to sit down in front of the computer and turn the camera on and just start recording and ranting about a certain subject. Now, Um, the other part, finding work-life balance, is a little bit more difficult because it's something that I love. And so I have to physically force myself to disconnect, like ignore all emails and social media for the weekend. Or at 4 o'clock, I'm not going back on. But it's always easier said than done. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Easier
Sometimes you
said than
say
done.
that and then you're like, oh, there's nothing going on right now. Maybe let me just go to work a little bit.
Hmm.
That's what
Yep.
happens
And
to
then
me
all
at
of a sudden
least.
you're in your office for another 4 hours. It's 2
Yeah.
a.m. You're waking up late the next day and you're like, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess
Yeah.
it's good that you're doing something you enjoy doing. I guess that's the secret to life, right? Like the secret to life to me isn't financial. Yeah, that's a benefit. But the real secret to life to me is like doing what you like to do. If you find yourself working 80 hours a week and you don't realize you're working 80 hours a week, like that's the good part of life.
No, I agree with you, and I think a lot about the secrets to life, Bruce. I do, and for me, I've distilled it down to meaningful relationships and meaningful work. Those two things are the utmost importance to me. Notice how money's not in there because it's
Yeah.
not. Money is irrelevant. It's just energy, man. It's an instrument of change. It's not going to make you feel one way or another, but it will allow you to buy back your time, and your time will allow you to have more freedom to
Yeah.
pursue meaningful work and meaningful relationships.
Yeah.
So I try to spend more. If I know that I'm spending a ton of time on meaningful work, I try to consciously, like I have it written down in my journal every day, to spend time on my relationships and my development. And sometimes that helps suck me out of it. But blessing and a curse, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm happy though.
We're not perfect, right? Like we could talk about it all day long and have the
Right?
best systems in place, but sometimes you kind of stray away from that system and you do something you know you shouldn't do. But
Yeah. How do
That
you
was right
do
at the
it?
time.
Do you work on the weekends and stuff, or are you able to disconnect?
I have a hard time with it. I really do. I really have a hard time with, uh, I don't know. I don't know if I have like ADD. I don't want to say I have it because I don't. I've never been tested. I never say that, but I have a really hard time sitting still. And if I'm not doing something, I need to be doing something. So there's many times where, there's nothing going on in my house, and instead of doing something, and like I said, I live in Boston, so in the wintertime is you can't like go outside for a walk or go hang outside at the beach because it's cold here. So I find myself when there's nothing to do, I work, and I like doing it. So I have a really hard time with that, figuring out the life work balance. I don't know if I have a great answer of how to do it, and I definitely wouldn't try to teach people how to do it because I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, I can tell you though that in my experience, it has gotten better because there was a time when I was doing too much, and
Yeah.
I'm like grinding from like 9 a.m. all the way to like 7 or 8 p.m. And I'm like, bro, I can't keep this up. I'm fucking tired. This isn't fun anymore. How do
Yeah.
I solve this? And so I started putting in systems that would replace me, and systems and workflows and standard operating procedures, and hiring people to help replace myself and get my time back. And that's when I really started to unlock and leverage other people and other workers to grow my business, and that was a game changer.
Yeah, I think I need to do that more. I think I need to I have a hard time letting go, and I like to do things. I like to tinker, so sometimes it's like I enjoy doing this. Why hand it off to somebody else? But I guess you got to have like time is something that in your life you don't get back. So if you waste time doing things that you could have somebody else do, and you could do something else that you maybe enjoy a little bit more, maybe that is the key for me.
Yeah, the way I see it is if they can do it 80% as well as me and I can afford it, and I'll get time back. Let's fucking go. Let's give it a
Yeah,
try.
I love that. I should look into that a little bit more.
Yeah. Well,
So
I like to use VAs from overseas. They're cheap.
yeah, I
They're
gotta look
like
into that. I
6 to
know
10
you see
bucks.
I think I saw you talk about that on one of your videos. Have you talked about that on YouTube or your TikTok?
No, not really, actually, I should. I'm gonna write that down. That's a good YouTube video.
Yeah, I
Thanks
would
for
watch that. Ping me when you do that because I'm gonna watch it when you well, actually, I'll talk to you about it right now.
yeah.
What do you where do you go to find those VAs? And like, is there certain questions you need to ask them in order to be able to do it? Or do you just like look for
Yeah.
places and then have them do things and that's the test?
So it started with Fiverr, and this is how I originally started. So on Fiverr, I would use kind of like a three bid process. I would have a simple project that I needed to get done, or like let's say I needed some graphics for a product listing.
Yeah.
I would hire three graphic designers to do the job for me, or different parts of the job, and then whatever designer was the best worker and communicated the best and had a level of skill that was good enough for me, I would give them more. And if they still performed, then I'd be like, okay, hey, cool. Do you want to work with me regularly?
Right.
And that's how I started. And then I started finding people who manage overseas workers, where they have lower standards of living, or not
Yeah.
standards, but lower cost of living.
Yeah.
And so getting paid $6 an hour is like a big fucking deal.
Right.
Like in Mombasa or Colombia or India, for example. And so then I get connected to this guy, Enrique, who I met through my network. And I say, hey, Enrique, I'm looking for people. And he'll give me like 4 resumes of people, and I schedule interviews with them. And that's where I'm able to really talk about their skills and get an idea for them. And I send them like a little personality test so I can figure out if they're like me or they can shore up my weaknesses.
Yep.
And I go from there. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And I keep trying. But after a while of practicing that, you start to get better at it.
You get to know what questions to ask and what
Yeah.
responses that people give you are going to be a good fit for you after you've done it for a while.
Yep. And as long as they speak English, man, like, dude, I'll just put together a standard operating procedure, man. I'll put in an SOP and be like, hey, follow directions on this sheet. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, I love that. It's about being organized too. I guess you got to be pretty organized.
I'm super organized. Yeah. I organize everything in Notion. All of my company data can be found in Notion.
What's Notion?
It's like an organization tool. You
Okay,
can drop in pictures, videos, organize things. People can collaborate with you. It's kind of like Trello or Mondays. It's just
got
a
it.
really robust version that I really like.
Got it. Got it. Got it. We use Slack a lot to communicate, but that's not like
I do too.
organization. That's more communication, I guess.
Right. Right.
I've
Right.
used
Right.
Trello though.
Yeah, similar. It'd be
Okay.
like, it'd be like people, working, collaborating on a Trello board. But yeah, you should check it out, dude. If you're interested in getting organized, Notion is,
I'm gonna check it out. Yeah, I'm gonna look into it. I'm gonna write that down and then check it out after we get off this podcast.
yeah, freaking game changer.
Let's talk real quick about I've been talking about cryptocurrency lately and NFTs for restaurants and how people can get into that. And
Fuck
How
yeah.
did you? When did you start? When did crypto and I don't know if you're into NFTs at all. When did that become on your radar?
Oh, I'm very into it. Yeah, I consider myself a major player in that space. And I started getting into cryptocurrency in 2012 when I was doing graphic design for Bitcoin.
Really?
Yeah,
Did you
yeah. So
buy
in 2000,
Bitcoin in 2012?
but I spent all of
Wow.
it.
Did
Yeah,
you
I
hear
would
about the
buy it,
guy? So
spend it.
did you hear about the guy who bought 2 pizzas with
Oh yeah,
10,000 Bitcoin?
oh yeah, 100%. I'll even do you one better. I had a buddy, a close friend of mine, who bought 5,000 Bitcoin at $2,
Oh my goodness. Does he
and
still have it or no?
when it went to $4, he sold.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because how are you gonna know?
Yeah, he would have had, a couple $100 million if
Yeah,
he had held on to it. But
that's
yeah, it happens. You just never know. And so because of stories like those, I buy and hold. I rarely sell cryptocurrency. I actually, you know what? I have never sold cryptocurrency for fiat, for US dollars, but I have converted it into other cryptocurrencies before. I've
uh,
never sold it.
the only cryptocurrency I've ever sold is the Shibu what's it called?
Shiba Inu coin, yeah.
Shiba Inu. Yeah, I bought some of that when it was low, and then it like doubled, and I sold it all. I'm like, all right, I'm done with this.
Well done. That was probably a smart move.
But I have like Ethereum and Bitcoin and like Solana and Litecoin. I have never sold any of that.
Great. Solid place, dude. Solid place. No
But I
joke.
just got started this year. This year is my first year really. Like I've heard of crypto
Mhm.
in but it was like stocks. Like I've heard of stocks my whole life, but I could never really get interested in it or figure out a
Yeah.
way to learn about it. But I think the internet has solved that problem for me because there's so many
Mm.
YouTube videos and Instagram accounts or TikTok accounts that you can go learn from. And not that they're going to know, not that you can really know if they know what they're talking about, but at least you can get some information quick.
Yeah, no, it's true. YouTube is great for that stuff, man.
Yeah.
And YouTube's algorithm is not going to lie to you, dude. It serves up videos that are watched the most. And if you watch the videos that are watched the most, there's a good chance you're going to learn what everyone else is learning.
That's true.
But NFTs, dude, oh my God, what an exciting project. And I'm so glad you're in food because it's a good mix.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
been talking about that a lot. I've been really trying to think about ways that restaurants can use NFTs, and I think they can use it as either rewards, like rewards programs. I'm thinking about, or you know, events or pop ups or things like that, where you used to have to sell tickets, right? But then, like a rewards program for a restaurant. And if you had a rewards program for a restaurant, someone would sign up, and then if they move, it's gone. Like they just leave. There's an NFT involved with it. They give you a price, and then you can reward them with a discount. And then if they leave or they move, they can sell that, and then you could get part of that as well.
Yep. That's a great idea. It's a fantastic idea. It's also cool to use NFTs as like passes for private events or extra
Yeah,
things. What I don't like about NFTs is just artwork. Not everybody's an artist. Sure, that's great for artwork, but I like utility. What is
yeah,
this NFT doing for you?
right.
By owning this piece of digital verified non-fungible tokens, like what is it doing for you? And that's where the key to NFTs is.
So you've probably purchased an NFT.
I have a shit ton. I have a shit ton of NFTs. I have them all over on different blockchains: Tezos, Solana, Ethereum. I have a handful of Gary V's, V
Do you really?
friends. Oh yeah, dude. I bought a couple back in the day, and man, I was sweating. I'm like, man, am I really spending this much money on these NFTs? It was like a couple $1,000 at the time, but oh,
But
I'm
now
glad I
all of
did.
his, like the floor price is like 20 or 30 grand, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's insane.
And
It's
he's
absolutely
pretty
insane.
smart. Like as like I like Gary V, but over the year until this NFT project came out, I'd say for the last 2000 his NFT project came out earlier. Was it earlier this year?
Yeah, May.
So the previous 2 years set, he was kind of saying the same thing over and over and over again. So I kind of like not that I tuned him out, but I've heard him say all that. So I was like, I don't need to hear him say that. But then when he got into NFTs and crypto, I was kind of like, when he gets into something, I'm always curious as to why. And he was really smart about his launch that he did with the NFTs.
Dude made $30 million in 24 hours.
Yeah, I like that he had utility with it, and he has different ones. So with different NFTs, you get different things.
Yep. And I think that is so cool. And I really love that aspect of it. Now, me, I'm not super interested in getting a CryptoPunk or a Bored Ape Yacht Club.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not. It's just a flex.
right,
But Gary's NFTs are going to get me into VCon. And
right.
I know he has a fucking plan for the next 50 years. And that's
Yeah.
what's important to me because there's not a doubt in my mind that each one of these V friends is going to be worth $1 million one day. I
When
know it.
does the Evan NFT come out?
Well, it's not specifically an Evan NFT. It's a project I'm working on with another chef
Really?
because it's food related NFT. Yeah.
Fantastic.
My co-founder and I, His name's Kyle. He opened a handful of restaurants here in California. Really successful. We were roommates. We've been friends for a long time and business friends for even longer time. Solid dude. But he too wants to get into the space. And so we came up with an idea called NFTs. And NFTs is an NFT. If you own the token, if you hold the token, we're going to send you edible gifts.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, we're going to send you like cool ramen boxes or like steaks or new seasonings, and it's really focused around a foodie community. So if you own this NFT, you basically get free shit, and that's all you have to do. You just have to own this NFT and participate.
Let me ask you a question about that. So when you set the price for the NFT, do you have a plan in place for how long you're going to be sending them things? Because you can't be like, hey, it's $50, but we're going to send you things forever, because then you're gonna be like, shit, we just wasted all this time and money and you only paid $50 for it.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there's two-part answer to that. So the first thing is when people typically join a Discord for an NFT drop or a mint, after the project has been minted, they leave. They didn't get one. I'm out.
Right.
Nothing to see here. I don't give a shit anymore. There's no chance of me getting one. I'm gone. So that is the first problem that needs to be solved. How do you keep your members there? How do you keep them engaged? And how do you keep your following? We are doing, instead of doing one big giant mint, we're doing a bunch of smaller mints. And
Got
so we're
it.
going to keep the followers there waiting for the next one if they didn't get it. And so by continuously minting like 500 or 1,000 like every 6 months or so, you're reintroducing new cash flow, and you're also keeping the members available, and you're increasing your audience size. The second way that we're going to do it is by collaborating with other consumer packaged goods companies and other restaurants, so that we can leverage buying power for a greater group of audiences.
Got it.
And the third way that we're going to do it is we built in certain percentages for each of the transactions and of the original mint. So like 80% of all the money that's collected is going to be used to send the gifts and throw events for the NFT holders.
Is
And
there a
if our
time
math
frame?
is correct, yeah, it should be coming out in less than 6 months. We're shooting for March, April next year.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we have the art done. I'm building the website. I've taken the role of a CTO on the project. It's really great. And so our goal is to make sure that there's certain allocation and be super transparent about it. That, when things are resold, like percentages of it go to fund more events.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's our goal. If our math is correct, it should work out, and we won't have to deal with the Ponzi scheme, type of shit. Because,
Right.
that would be my fear is what if we run out of money, and we
Yeah.
might. But I think that if we execute in the right way and focus on giving a ton of value and focus on really creating a super dope community of food lovers, then we'll be okay.
Yeah, I was thinking of another one NFT project. So we have a different company, like a travel company that we have, and I was thinking about doing an NFT for an event. Like you sell an NFT, and if you purchase this NFT, you get access to a Patreon group or a private podcast feed or live shows virtually. But then you also get, like Gary did, get access to a live event that we're going to put on. Um, Let me ask you this: what are your thoughts on selling that? What are your thoughts on that? First of all, do you think that's a good idea?
I think that we have to look at the NFT projects in reverse order. So I don't look at it as I'm going to create an NFT to do this. I say I'm going to do this and I'm going to use an NFT to facilitate it.
Okay, gotcha. And
So if we
then,
flip our thinking first,
yeah,
we can
yeah. So
start
you
laying
reverse,
things
like you
out
go
right.
from the end backwards,
hmm
and
hmm
then what's the once that event is over, is that NFT worthless now?
Depends. Have you made it worthless, or have you given people a reason to still want it?
So you could have to have another event later on, maybe like an unannounced one that you don't have yet. But then that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, how do you
Yeah,
make it?
or even think bigger, like create intellectual property around that NFT. Like immortalize it in cartoons, videos, music, collecting, art, clout. Like there's so many different ways to make people want to have your NFT. And so you have to think about what it is that you're good at, what it is you want to, and what it is you want to accomplish.
Yeah, I think people are trying to figure that out, right? Like they're trying to figure out how to leverage NFTs where they can have something of value, but have something attached to it, uh, like they get something. But then how do you make it monetarily feasible over time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Now, in that respect, you really have to look at like NFTs are super cool because they allow you to have something that is undeniably true, right? You can't forge it. And that is what's
Right.
really, really cool about NFTs. And so if we use that as a basis of understanding, you can, go down the route of concert tickets, event passes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
things like that, which is great. But what I really think it's cool for is recurring revenue for the initial creator. And that opens up a whole new world. Originally, like if you produced a song, you would just sell it to the producer, and that's the first and only time you would make revenue.
Right.
Same with being like a famous artist, you
Yeah. You
sell
sell
the
a
Mona
picture.
Lisa one
Yeah.
time, that's it, you're done.
Right.
But if you can get recurring revenue in every sale, now it's a real legitimate career path. You can really do cool things.
Yeah.
So, how can you apply that to other businesses, and how can you apply that to your unique, event or thing that you want to do? How can you leverage the blockchain? Why would you need it to be immutably true? Yeah, and
That's a,
those are the kinds of questions that I think about when
yeah.
I'm applying ideas to
I
this
love
space.
that. So
But
you're the NFT that you're creating with the chef, is it thousands of different images, or is it one image that you just get access to? You have the one image.
so it's going to be a handful of images. It's everybody's going to get the same drops in initially, but there
Yep.
will be a few extra rarities that if you want to spend a little extra money on, you're going to get some extra cool shit.
So you have like
And
10 different images, and each
yeah,
image has a different thing that is attached to it.
yeah, we're going to keep it really simple. So that's my job, dude. It's like, how can we do it simpler? How can we make it easier? How can
Yeah.
we make it more straightforward? Because so much complicated shit out there right now, dude.
Yeah, because like the Bored Ape has 10,000 different Bored Apes, but Gary's has, 500 of whatever his hand drawing was, right? But it's the same
Yep.
drawing, and 500 people get his his NFT. The value isn't necessarily in the art, it's in the what's attached to the art,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And that's going to be
Yep.
like what you're
100%.
doing with this chef, right? Like it's not necessarily the art itself, it's more like what you get when you own it.
Exactly. And we're a company that really wants to send cool shit to people that are also in the crypto space. Like we want to bring these two together.
Yeah.
Like Kyle and I love fucking food, dude. We love all things about weird exotic foods. Like it's super special to us. And so we want a way to send people cool shit. And so that's our whole bit. We're a business, we're not just an NFT project. We're an actual business. We're a C Corp formed in Delaware, whose main goal is it's really technically like a marketing agency if you really looked at it that way. But
I
we
love it.
distribute food to people. And so we are using NFTs simply to facilitate it.
Is he in Delaware?
Nope. He's in Illinois.
Oh, so you just formed your LLC in Delaware.
Yep.
And you
Actually, I formed a corporation.
Okay.
So it's a corporation taxed as a C corp, and the reason why we did that is when you form an LLC, the money is passed on to your personal tax return,
Right.
unless you tax it as a C corp. And so we want it to be its own separate entity because it's going to be holding on to cash, and so we didn't want to pay taxes on the balance sheet.
Yeah. Or self-employment tax if you're not taking it as
Yeah,
money.
self-employment tax. Yeah, I don't pay that shit anymore.
Yeah,
I
that's
figured out
tough,
a way
man.
around that.
Yeah.
That's
I need
corpse,
help.
baby.
Yeah. That's the number one killer as you're an entrepreneur is like when you go from a job to a owner, you don't realize that if you have a paycheck that your boss is paying you, the unemployment tax you get half of your boss is paying half of that as well. And when you leave and you become your own boss, you're responsible for all of it.
15%, bro. That's huge.
Yeah.
Like most business owners, like most solopreneurs or businesses of one, if they just make the swap from LLC taxed as a sole proprietor to LLC taxed as an S corp, they can save $15,000 to $30,000.
I know that for a fact.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah, I know that
Luckily,
for
there's services out there that can help you with it now, and you don't have to do it all on your own. But
yeah.
man, it's worth learning it.
Yeah, that's something that people I know you talk about that as well too. Speaking of your YouTube and TikTok, where can people go check you out if they want to check you out online when they get done with this?
Just go to vanader.com. You'll find everything.
Okay. Vanader, and you spell that VANADER.com.
That's right.
Vanader.com. Evan, I could probably talk to you for hours about this stuff because it's so fun and interesting, but I know I don't want to take too much of your time. So go check out Vanader.com on TikTok and on YouTube. You're the same, Vanader?
Yep. Some of them are Vanator Growth. That was the original name that I had. So
Yep.
YouTube it should show up as Vanator Growth. But yeah, you can find all of my social channels, my business school, and everything else on Vanator.com.
I highly recommend you guys go follow Evan on all those platforms because you're going
Thank
to
you.
learn a ton. And he does a great job of breaking down the education and teaching you all about kind of what we talked about in this podcast today. So, Evan, I appreciate it. Don't hang up yet, but I thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Bruce. It was a pleasure, my friend. Really enjoyed talking to you.